Hello again. My name is the Pessimist, and it's time for another episode. Let's begin, shall we? Hello again, people of the internet. I'm the Pessimist, and today's episode is about... Forgive me, little tickle in my throat. Today's episode is about new media and its effect on the current and next generation. And if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that my standing definition of generation is age groups within 5 or 10 years of each other. And by current, I reference mine, because I'm biased that way, to 20 to 30-year-olds. And by next generation, I of course mean 15 to 10-year-olds, because I like nice round numbers, and going from 21 would just be dumb and awkward. Anyway, the effect has been quite noticeable from the differences between the generations. The previous generation has made use of the technology, but they don't have the... overall, they don't have the finesse or skill that the current one displays. And they use it a lot in everyday life while retaining their older skills. The current generation is what I call the transitional generation. We learned some of the old skills in school, penmanship, cursive, just various things like that, using a phone book. Whereas nowadays, they don't really teach that school because they've been implementing iPads and laptops as early as grade 3, which is one hell of a way to saturate their minds into the world of tech. For example, I remember this day about 2, maybe 3 years ago. I was walking to a park in a town right next to my hometown, just kind of bumming around for the day. And I was walking around with my backpack, had my favorite book, I believe it was Ender's Game at the time. I still enjoy it, but it might not be my favorite, but I digress. I was walking along with my book, and in the park I see this kid just playing with his iPad, reading a book online, or some Kindle, or whatever device it is. I don't really bother too much with differentiation. It's all tech to me. So, I see him just reading there, so I just decide to walk around, enjoy some of the sunshine. And as I walk back to the bench, I'm about to sit down next to him and start reading, I hear him say, "Ah! My battery died. Now what am I going to do?" So, I just looked at the kid. If you like, you can borrow my book. It looked like the kid had never really seen a book before, like a physical book. And he was like 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere in there. Which showed a clear difference in our upbringings. Because, I was raised on books. So, I hand him the book. He starts reading it. Well, it looked normal until he reached the end of the first page. He ended up trying to turn the page by flipping his finger just like he would with an iPad. And when it wouldn't turn easily, he just looked at his finger like it was broken. Ugh. So, I had to show him how to flip the page of a book by grabbing the corner. What kind of 8, 9-year-old doesn't know that? The current ones, apparently. Because it wasn't the first time I've seen things like this. I mean, I've also gone around, I used to tutor kids in younger grades. None of them know cursive anymore because it's not really being taught in the school system that I'm in. Which I was rather surprised at, because you need it for your signature and, well, not really much else in today's society, but still. He couldn't even make his own signature, and he was in grade 4 or 5. Which had me interested, to say the least. Then I handed him a laptop, and he was just using the thing like a breeze. Even faster than I usually do, because I'm pretty relaxed. I go at my own pace. But this kid was typing, like... I remember, he was in 5th grade. He was typing, like, maybe 35, 40 words a minute. That's almost as good as a secretary from the previous generation when they're just starting out. So that's pretty impressive. But my overall point is, we're becoming lazier as we become more used to having technology to aid us. We've all heard about people my age and younger not being able to do math in our heads anymore because we're relying too much on calculators, as a common example. A lot of people are experiencing what they would consider subpar penmanship to the previous generation, and I've seen that in my own, my classmates, and definitely the younger people's work. But these are all examples of the larger issue. Oversaturation. We're beginning to learn about the technological world. We're starting to think in technological terms. If you want to learn something new, go online. Go find the news. Because they don't really use the newspapers. A lot of people have swapped from watching television to watching it online so they can avoid the commercials. A lot of people have stopped keeping around their encyclopedias and dictionaries because they have Google and dictionary.com. The changes are fast, and they're coming at us faster and faster and faster. I worry about us. Eventually, we're going to be losing all sight of ourselves, and I believe that it will start turning into a scene from WALL-E, that little Disney movie about the robot going in space. If you haven't watched it, here's the rundown of my analogy. The robot goes into space because the world has been so completely polluted that there's no real organic life on Earth. Except for little robots that come down from the human ship in space and search for signs of rehabilitation of life. Anyway, WALL-E manages to get on the ship. He goes around, and all of humanity have become a bunch of just fat, lazy slobs who are just sitting in these hovering chairs, going around, and they're talking to each other on holographic screens like Skype, even if they're sitting right next to each other. It's the epitome of laziness and conformity, which I found to be quite profound for a Disney movie, to be quite frank. Now, I know I have a lot of different people watching stuff on YouTube. I mean, I have people my age. There could be people from 2, 3, even 4 previous generations, the one from the next generation, even people from different countries. But I believe that the integration remains the same, at least to some degree, no matter where we are. I mean, I know, for example, that the Japanese don't use computers nearly as much as we do, but they've completely mastered their smartphones and mobile devices because they just have to go, 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 go. But that's enough of that. And for the point, how has the new media affected us and the new generation? Well, as I've just said, we are not thinking for ourselves anymore. We're over-dependent on technology. And for the future, and for the vanguard, technology. What kind of advances will we make next? complete virtual reality. Now, I'm going to make a reference which I know for certain that not everyone here is going to get because it references a Japanese TV show, an anime, called Sword Art Online. Basic premise: 10,000 people, players, put on a virtual reality helmet and get sent into the internet to play their online game. But the creator has taken out the ability to log out. The only way to get out of the game is to clear the game, all 100 floors, and if the person dies in the game, the neural helmet will kill the player in real life. Now, I know there would be a lot of safeguards against something like that happening in society, but I'm just saying with the rate we're going, it's a distinct possibility. Just something along those lines. But what does all of this tell us? Yes, I've been reiterating the point, time and time again. Technology is making us overdependent. It's making us lazy. It is affecting everyone on this planet to some degree or another. Even if it's just us depending on technology, or watching a loved one delve into the world time and time again. So I just hope that if you're watching this, you'll put some consideration into it. Because we still need some of the old skills in case these technologies go down. I mean, there have been many books written on the subject of, for example, an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, which essentially fries all electronics in its area of effect. I would reference a book called 1 Second After. It shows the story of a little town down in Virginia, I believe, southern Virginia. The EMP goes off, and the power went off across the entire eastern, central, and western coast of America, because 3 separate nukes went off in different parts. But it showed the degradation of the people without their technology. They couldn't use their cars, so they couldn't really get too far. They had no refrigeration, which means they had to find, procure, and eat their own food while it was still fresh. And they couldn't refrigerate medicine like insulin, so the diabetics were starting to die off. Around them, people started to degenerate into anarchy. One part of the book even showed them having to fight off a town that had turned to cannibalism, becoming essentially crazed nomads. Just think to yourself, what would you do if your technology and electricity was turned off for just 3 days? 3 days. You wouldn't have light, you wouldn't have heat, water, unless you got it yourself. Hell, you wouldn't have any form of entertainment except for reading material, games, whatever music you could make. Most of the current children would go insane. By children, I mean those around 16 to 5. The current ones would fall back into easier things, reading, board games. The previous generation probably would be a lot better than the current generation, and so on and so forth, because they've lived in the older times with the older tech. And then there's the reach that we have. Radio, you could reach 50 million people in maybe 5 months. TV, maybe 1 month, depending on what stage of the TV was, black and white, tube, flat screen, who was making channels at the time. With the internet, you can do that in a single day. I know 50 million people won't watch this video, because I'm just a no one in the middle of YouTube. But YouTube has the capacity to reach 50 million people in a day, an hour, even a minute if enough people were online, though it would probably bust their servers trying to take that much traffic in one go. But the point is, you're watching this. You are hearing my words. And I'm quite curious as to what you think about it. Because I'm just a guy sitting here making a video in my room at college. You could be the same. You could be an office worker. You could just be a kid prepping for school in the morning. That's the miracle of our technology. We weigh the pros. Being able to reach people. Time saved. Against the fact of over-reliance. Becoming lazy. Becoming dependent. Anyway. That is today's food for thought. I hope you found it interesting. And you guys have a lovely day now. You take care.